So James Gunn's Superman came to cinema about a month ago, right? About 35 days to be precise from the time of this recording. And it is already on digital. Yeah. So basically, Superman only was, I mean, it's still in cinema, but it's been there for a month and a few days to talk, but that's basically rounded off and say a month, and they're already releasing it on digital. Why? Well, there are people trying to say things, and James Gunn is trying to say things, but the answer for it is very much clear. Before we get into that, let's take a look over the numbers and see how it's doing. Worldwide, it sits at $586 million. Basically, you could say about 587 million this time. The domestic box office is still higher than the international box office. The domestic is 335 million and the international is 251 million. Right? So it's getting there. But like I said, this movie is not going to make it to 700 million. It is not. And it needs to make about 700 million, a little over that, to break even. It's not going to do that. It's not going to reach that. Might very well reach 600 million, maybe a little over that, but that's it, especially the fact that it's now out on digital. That is going to hinder it even more. But it's not going to make its money back. It has a certain, it needs to make a certain amount, and it's not going to do that. Now, James Gunn, as is the case, has not been doing himself anyway, because he's out there jumping onto everything in regards. A little while back, he fired back at Superman budget talk and all of this stuff. Let me get to the thing here, right? So somebody asked him this online. People online saying that Superman needs to make 650 million to break even and be a success. Actually, it's more like 7, but is that true, or would you say it's already a success? Huge fan of the movie, by the way. James Gunn replies, absolutely false. Anyone saying that doesn't have an understanding of the film business. And we would be idiots to make a first in a franchise film that would need to make that much to be profitable. Now, here's the thing. Maybe James Gunn is looking at this like, kind of like how the Batman trilogy was, Christopher Nolan Batman, because the first movie, Batman Begins, didn't make an astounding amount of money, but it did. What it did was introduce fans to that universe. So by the time the second movie came around, which I still consider to be the best one with Joker, that made over $1 billion, and the third movie made over $1 billion. Right? The Batman movie didn't make that. They have it here in this article, right? They talk about it here, and they say that Batman Begins made 375 million worldwide in 2005, right? But it set the stage for The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, each of which went on to gross over 1 billion. Now, that is something for me said if you want to do that. But realistically speaking, when it comes to jail, you got to say, anyone saying that doesn't have an understanding of the film business, well, do have an understanding of the film business, because when you look at it, the domestic box office, right, you may be saying that, say 335 million, way like plenty money, okay, but the studio only gets about half of that, right? And the international box office, they get even less, like 40 or 30%. That's all they get, right? In order for this movie to break even, it needs to make about 700 million or more, because of and we're just talking about the production budget. We haven't even talked about the marketing budget yet. It needs to make a certain amount of money to break even. And what you're looking at here now, I'm telling you, this movie is not going to make back its money. But James Gunn is locked in over at DC right now. For the time being, they have him there to do that. I didn't want to say, and we would be idiots to make our first and our franchise film that would need to make that much to be profitable. It needs to be profitable. But again, like I say, maybe he has a plan in mind for the whole thing in regards to it, and they kind of looking at it long term in regards to it. But look, I saw the movie, and what you have up next is basically drunk Supergirl, and I'm not really all that on board because I didn't like the Superman movie. I didn't think it was good at. I didn't think it was good at all. But that's what it is. Now, as I said, the movie hits digital on August 15th, right? That's 35 days after it came out in cinema, so it's still relatively fresh, still there, but it's already hitting digital. And some people are trying to say there's a reason with all of that. Over this post here from the Canadian lad who says, didn't the movie just make 7.8 million over this fifth weekend? Coming to digital so soon sounds like WB is happy with what it made on the box office. I don't think people would have complained if they waited 2 months to get this on digital. All right, here's the thing. You don't put a movie out on digital early because you say, well, okay, I'm good with what it's made and done. No, you look at Barbie, for instance. You think this up and say, hey, you know what? Barbie made 500 million. That's good enough. Let's just put it out on digital. No, they kept it in there till it made a crap ton of money. Same thing with Super Mario Brothers movie. They didn't say, hey, you know, we think 600 million is good enough. Let's just put that out there. No, you only put a movie out on digital when you're trying to recoup something from what you've lost. That's it. And that's the main thing here in regards to this movie. It has not made the kind of money that they wanted it to make at the box office. So they're putting it out on digital to try and save face. But according to James Gunn, that's not the reason. Because in this article here from Screen Rant, James Gunn has a good reason for why Superman is coming to digital so soon. Let's find out. Following the announcement of the digital release of DC Studios' Superman, director James Gunn explains why the DC Universe movie is coming out early on video on demand. 2025 became a great year for the Man of Steel in the world of cinema. Not really, no. As the Superman movie brought the DC icon back for Gunn's new DCU franchise. After many positive reviews and a solid box office run. Okay, solid box office run that hasn't made its money back, and you're putting it out on digital, ensuring it's not going to make its money back. Hoping, well, it makes some money from the streaming and probably DVDs and stuff. Okay, well, I guess anything works. Right? Superman's digital release was recently announced, and it's a way sooner than many were expecting. Thankfully, Gunn is finally explaining why Superman will become available through digital sooner rather than later. Right, so Screen Rant's own Liam Crowley interviewed Gunn for right at the goal. So this is what I would say. Superman was such a massive success, over $500 million worldwide, and it really set the stage for the DCU moving forward. I talk about how it's okay, be a Screen Rant is a shield site, so they're going to come up there to do that. And they say over $500 million worldwide, a massive success because there were people at the movie saying that if Superman manages to make make 500 million at the box office, they're going to consider that a success. 500 million does not even get you back half your production, but you don't break even there at all. So, ain't happening there, but we'll continue on. And it really set the stage for the DCU moving forward. I was a little heartbroken to see it's already going to be on digital so soon after, because I love a good long theatrical campaign. James Gunn, me too. Screen Rant. What was the mindset in going to streaming that soon after? James Gunn, well, it's very complicated, but the truth is, it is because of Peacemaker. Yeah, I could smell the stupidity coming. I originally thought Peacemaker was going to be coming out next month. There was a lot of things that are beyond our control. So that Peacemaker is coming out now. And at the end of the day, I wanted everyone to be able to see Superman that wanted to, even those people who couldn't get to a theater before Peacemaker. And that's really the reason for it. So basically, James Gunn is saying that Superman is coming to digital sooner because of Peacemaker. I've already said that Peacemaker is the follow-up to Superman. I don't know what the hell that has to do with anything, honestly. But we'll continue. Let me ask some more. Peacemaker season 2 will take place a month after the events of Gunn's DCU movie, as John Cena had a special cameo in the film as Christopher Summit, marking one of many Easter eggs and DC references in Superman. Several Superman characters like Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr. will be back for Peacemaker Season 2. And this is the first that has been mentioned that Peacemaker Season 2 was initially eyeing a September debut on HBO Max. Gunn, the question is a also a sign of DC is leaning into the marketing of the DCU franchise. Look, here's the thing, eh? You're basically saying you're putting out Superman early after basically a month instead of you putting it out on digital because Peacemaker's coming and Peacemaker is kind of a follow-up to it. Look, the law of diminishing returns states that this movie is going to keep dropping as time goes along. It is not going to make its money back. That is a fact at this point, right? James Gunn coming out there and saying all kind of nonsense like, the movie need to make 650 million to break even is absolutely false and all that. No, it's not absolutely false. You need to make about 700 million to break even. That's a fact. You're not going to make that money. Then you have the Canadian last saying, well, maybe WB is happy with its box office and that's why they put it out. They know. And then you have James Gunn following up by saying, hey, listen, a Peacemaker coming out. So that was, no, you put it on digital because in a desperate attempt to try and make back some money because you know it's going to lose out. That is the fact. The movie has not performed well at the box office. You look at it and you can clearly see the international box is much lower than the domestic box. The domestic is 335 million and the international box is 251 million. It is not performing well. You are losing money. So you put it out on digital to hopefully try and get back a little change from the the streaming and all that and the other and figure you're going to make something out of it. Fine, knock it away. It's not going to matter. You have lost money. Superman has flopped at the box office. That is a fact. That is a fact. You can pretend and lie and say whatever you want and all of that. It doesn't really it has flopped at the box office. That is a fact. And James Gunn is out there trying to pretend and all that to make everybody figure, well, okay, it's something it isn't. It's not. You put it out early because you know it wasn't going to make anything, and that's where you are at right now. That's the fact of it. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.